This video is going to cover the system of sight reading we use, meaning to read pitches as a singer. We call it generally solfege. And that's a system of using syllables, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and do, in order for us to read music without having to use the piano. For singers, we can't press a button necessarily on our instrument to make an exact pitch that we see on the page, so we need to use this system, and this goes right along with what our brains are hearing, what our brains perceive as sound and as pitch. So all you need to know at the very start is how you get through figuring out what is what, because it's simply decoding. For instance, if I have a pitch marked right here and I call it do, the next upstairs neighbor, the upstairs neighbor one floor up, remember we go space to the next line, is always called re. The next one up is always called mi. The next is always fa, etc. So, la, ti, and then do. Now, what gets confusing is that this do can move around, but that's not for you to worry about right now. Right now, as a beginner, you need to worry about where the location of do is going to occur, because once you know what the location of do is, everything else relates to it. So if do is right here, for instance, and I wanted to find re, it's always the upstairs neighbor, the next upstairs, the next floor up. So line to the next space is re. And then, of course, this would be mi, etc. Fa, sol, la, ti, do. And as we move up, if you are just writing them in order, as it so happens, if you had to write more pitches, you write a ledger line, just like we did when we learned the treble and the bass clef. You'd write a ledger line or see a ledger line, so you know it's line space, line space, line space. Now, it's not always this easy because sometimes it moves downward. Well, you have to think that once you get to do, it just starts over again. So let's imagine that we were starting down here, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We hit another do right there. Well, the next pitch up from that is going to be re. But let's think that we have to go downward. Do, the one right below do is always ti, ti. Then the one below is always la, la, sol, fa, mi, re, and then back down to do. So let me erase this to give us some space. So if I just so happen, instead of going upward, I moved one below, do, or do, and I moved one below, that's ti, another one below, that's la, another one below, that's so. It would just keep on going downward until I couldn't sing it anymore and the piano would have to take over, or a better bass would have to take over. Now, but these jump around, and so that's where it gets confusing. So we might give you, as teachers, the location of do, and we'll say that pitch, whatever it is, if it's in treble clef, we would call it F, A, it'd be A, but we're just going to say do is right there. What would this pitch be? And the way you go about finding that is you would just go line, or space, line. So think about your starting point. Okay, well, if the pitch was there, it's do. I know it's do because the teacher told me that it's do. The next one up would be re. Well, that's not really the next one up. It's the one after that. Mi. Oh, that's what it is. Well, you know what this one is. If I gave you one over here, you could do one of two things. You could either count down from this or go from do. Let's count from this first. Mi, you go down one from mi, it's re, go down one. You know this is do, it's a good reference point for you. Do, ti would be on this line. This is another space, that would be la. So, regardless of where we put this or tell you where do is, and if you're a beginner, you may hear people say, oh, do is F, or do is A, or do is B flat. Don't worry about it right now. What you want to just get used to and accustomed to is wherever we tell you do is, if this pitch happens again in the exact same spot, no matter what it looks like, no matter how many dots or whatever, it is always going to sound like do, depending on what key we're in. If it's right here on this space, anytime we see that note written in any way, it's going to be mi. Here's do, and this will be la. And it'll get easier and easier to hear those patterns because we'll sing them every single day. But what you need to focus on is knowing that basic pattern.